Hello and welcome to Bedson and Coffey Unfiltered,
where we will be discussing fitness, lifestyle, healthy eating habits, relationships, gas station performance pills, answering romantic queries. You have anything else, Tyler? Is there anything? Do you need help with anything right now? Because I feel like I'm in a position where I can help you with it.
I mean, and everything else that we come across as we go. But you know what it's going to be, right?
It's going to be unfiltered.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so like I didn't have to.
You didn't have to fly to Turkey.
I didn't have to go to Turkey.
No.
I'm telling you right now.
With all the junk that's going on over there right now, it's like
as soon as it's time for a facelift, I'm off to Turkey.
Turkey.
That's it.
Turkey gets everything.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. What do you think about Indiana, like the state?
Larry Bird's from there.
Ooh, what else is from there?
Do you know? From French Lick, baby.
Like, what are they famous for in Indiana? Like, what is Indiana known for? When you think of Indiana,
Exceptional bodybuilding shows.
Exceptional bodybuilding shows.
There you go.
That was what I was going to say.
And corn.
And corn. Corn-fed.
Corn-fed bodybuilders.
Corn-fed bodybuilders. There's some good bodybuilders from Indiana when I think
Absolutely.
about it. You know, you got Nathan Epler there.
There are some good bodybuilders in Indiana. Yeah, I was shocked. Actually, our first year that we had in 2022, Premier Muscle, we had more men bodybuilders than we did bikini, which is usually
That's rare.
Oh, wow.
the opposite, right?
That says a lot.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
We have good bodybuilders in Indiana.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you do go to Indiana and you have somebody in a bodybuilding show, they're going to go against some competition. That's why I
Absolutely.
like to send people there because of that. There's quite a few, especially amateur level, that are coming up. Even there's some guys there that I feel like if they hit the mark, they'll be pros.
Yeah.
They just got to get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a good lineup coming up. I'm seeing some of the guys prepping. I'm like, okay, this is going to be good.
And whenever you're in a really big, really competitive show like that, and you say you take a second or a third, and somebody's like, oh man, he took third. Well, you didn't see who took first and second. At some smaller shows or less competitive shows, that guy would have crushed everybody.
I would rather
And
go
you
to a
see that.
show and get second or third against
yeah.
a rowdy lineup than
respectable
go
lineup,
win an
yeah.
overall at some small janky show.
Nationally qualified. There's one person in your damn class.
Then you go to nationals and you learn a hard lesson.
That's my
like
whole
that.
MO. I mean, seriously, like when I'm thinking about what we can do, like bringing in top level judges, Olympia level judges, IFBB judges, it'll bring in more people, and it brings in good quality competitors. So that's
A
how
win
you drive
is only
those
as good
numbers
as
up.
as your competition.
Yeah.
With anything.
So
No gimmies.
Today we have a special guest. Jamie, introduce yourself. Jamie is from Indiana, and she is one of the promoters, or the promoter,
Thank you.
for multiple shows in Indiana that are just coming out. So go ahead and tell us about those a little bit.
My name is Jamie. I am the promoter in Central Indiana. I would say more central. So we have a few shows, actually. So one coming up we have on June 29th. This is the first inaugural IFBB MPC Indy Super Show with Classic Physique and Bikini. It's also an amateur event as well. And that's in Carmel, Indiana. And then we have our third year for the Premier Muscle Championships and Indiana State Championships. Indiana State is one of those things. It's like the prestigious title. So residents that live in the state of Indiana gun to be Mr. and Mrs. Indiana. So it's a big deal, a really big deal. So that's on August 3rd. And then we'll be announcing another show soon.
Ooh, so you got a third show coming up.
Third show coming up, 2025.
Can you tell us when it might be?
Actually, I've already locked in the date. So it's set. So we have it set for the first weekend of October for the next 3 years. So it'll be a great fall event.
So you've got them all pretty spaced out. You got a June, an August, and you got an October show coming.
June, August, October. And the way I like to line it up is usually before a national event. So our June show for the MPC is a week before Universe. So we award our overall winners. They go to Universe. And then it's 3 weeks before Masters Nationals. So it's a perfect opportunity to go in, warm up, get in front of really good judges, get your feedback, and then head off to Nationals. Yeah. And then our August show is 3 weeks before North American. So we award North Americans at that one. And the October show, I'll be awarding Nationals, which is a little bit of a gap. I think Nationals is December, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But still, it's like 7 weeks to fine tune. Yeah. So, and we might even also award the Ben Weider as well.
Okay. Yeah. That's one of the big natural shows for anybody who doesn't know. Ben Weider Natural Classic is probably the biggest natural show there is at the moment. I know natural shows are going to start coming up more though.
Yeah,
So-
there's a big push from the IFBB NPC and coming down from Tyler Manion. They're actually just added 30 natural shows across the U.S. and they're going to be adding more, which is great. I think there's a huge opportunity for competitors that want to go.
There's a lot
in
of
that
buzz about it
direction.
right now. A lot of people are talking about the natural shows, and you see a lot of
Yeah.
athletes leaning that way, especially a lot of new athletes. That
A
are
lot
new
of
to the
people are
sport.
getting into the sport and they don't really want to go the route that it's
Push the
going.
limits.
It's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Which gives people another avenue though, because there's a lot of special leagues, other federations that are
There is,
prominently natural, and that's all they offer.
Yeah.
So I think the NPC doing that is going to be a huge thing and give more opportunities to the newer age of bodybuilders that, you know, want to stay natural or
Yeah.
just continue bodybuilding in their own way.
Yeah, and
So-
I think it's a good springboard, even if somebody doesn't, you know, at least to start in a natural manner and see how far you can take your body before.
That's what I encourage a lot of
Yeah.
athletes to do, especially younger ones. I'm like, see
start
where
there.
your natural potential is.
Yep.
See if you even like it first, because
Sure.
it's not for everybody, as
No.
we know.
Yeah.
And
But
especially for the smaller divisions, bikini, wellness, you know, figure men's physique, you don't necessarily have to. If they've got, you know, good genetics or,
or
you know,
good
what
work
the case may
ethic.
be. Good work ethic.
Plus,
Yeah.
if you look at
Yeah.
the guys that are exceptional pros that are enhanced,
yeah,
like those top tier guys, before they used gear, they looked incredible already.
Sure.
You know, like so there's certain factors that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think some people think that gear is the only difference, and it is not. You know, you're not one cycle away from being Mr. Olympia. I don't care what anybody tells you.
no,
It takes a
You're
lot more than that.
you're a long way away from
Yeah.
that.
I think more so too is having well ran and good natural shows for these
Yeah.
athletes to go to also. And it's something that we really, you know, pride ourselves on for our shows. It's like, what are we doing for the athletes? You know,
Yeah, and that's like you always have put that first. You're big on the athletes.
Always, yeah.
So how did you even get into promoting? Like what started you? What made you be like, man, I want to go ahead and have my own shows and I want to run them and do this my way?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. You just kind of did you just kind of fall in?
I did.
Okay.
So Gary, long story short, Gary's been my mentor since I met him in 2017.
Gary, you did?
Gary did it. Yep. And I did really well nationally in 2017. I placed third. And then I bombed in 2018. And I moved nationally. And I moved to, at the time I was moving to Indiana and I wanted to come back, make this my comeback year in 2019. I was going to go compete at the Pittsburgh Pro. So I had a few questions. I texted him and he called me back. And he was like, you know, I kind of explained what happened. I said, hey, I want to come back, you know, I want to go do the Pittsburgh Pro and then I'm going to go to Masters Nationals. And he goes, well, what happened? And I explained to him, I said, look, did really well, placed third, went back in 2018. They just didn't like my look. He said, send me your pictures. So I sent him my photos. Not kidding you. And he goes, that suit sucks. Your hair sucks. You need to change your stance. I'm not kidding you.
Oh, he's honest.
Oh, very honest.
Oh yeah.
And he goes, if you need anything at all, just send me your, you know, check-in photos or whatever. And I was like, I'm totally taking, this is an Olympia judge,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm taking advantage of this. So we became good friends. And I moved to the state of Indiana and I guess my background is in sales. I was in sales for 13 years and my husband's background is in marketing. And we just kind of decided like, hey, want to run a show in Indiana? Sure. Sounds good. And
That's
the
a
rest is
perfect
history.
match right there.
There you go.
It really is. It does take a combination of everything because Gary has the experience. I mean, he's been doing this since the early 80s. So he's got the production down and I'm a very people person.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in the faces and working with the athletes and working with the sponsors and things like that. And Nick is behind the scenes doing all the graphics and content and things like that for the show. So
Which I've definitely noticed you guys push the advertising on the shows.
huge.
Many people know about it. I've had
great.
many athletes tell me they wanted to do your show,
Love that.
which is awesome. You know, what do you think are some ways that you brought in more athletes to doing yours? Because I think you told us earlier, how many do you have signed up so far for the June 29th show?
Well, we have for the posing clinic, we have, which we do every year. We do a free posing clinic every
Yeah.
year. We bring in Olympians and pros. It's completely free. We have over 200 athletes signed up. And this is
huge
like,
turnout.
so why I started doing this in the state of Indiana is I'm from California, and being from California, there's posing clinics everywhere. Like every 3 weeks, I would go to a posing seminar and Sandy Williamson would be there. and these top level pros. And I grew so much as an athlete going to these things. So moved here to the state of Indiana, and I'm like, where are the posing clinics? There was none. So we decided, let's put on a posing clinic. And I think it was just, it just started with an idea. And then, a lot of these pros want to volunteer. They want to raise their hand and step in and help out and, guide these amateur athletes into, great stage presentation. And
I think a lot of times, like, new athletes don't understand how important posing is. What you look like takes a backseat to what you can show.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And I've seen some people who would have a better physique but get outposed and they can't display that physique correctly.
I always
100%.
And it's such a big deal. And start that as quickly as you can and get comfortable moving with that.
Yes.
Get comfortable in those positions. And in the beginning, you're going to be smoother. You're not going to see everything the same way. Don't get frustrated with it. Continue to practice. And then as you get leaner, it's going to be easier. You're going to look different and so on. But when exactly is that posing seminar?
It's
and
on June
the
1st.
posing
It's
clinic?
next weekend.
And where's that going to be at?
So it's at AMF. We have had it actually it's Nathan's gym in Southport.
Okay.
And he's an Olympian. He's actually going to do his open debut this year, which is really exciting. So I found him when I moved here again, and I just randomly somebody had tagged him, and I noticed at the top of his IG handle, he was opening a gym. I'm like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And it's huge. It's 22,000 square feet. There's a really big posing room. So it's a great opportunity for people to come in, not just to pose, but we make a whole event. I mean, we have vendors, we have, all kinds of things for sale. We have merchandise, and it's a cool time to like train with the pros. Like Daniel's going to be there. He was out training with the athletes and things like that. It's just, it's about building a community.
Yep.
I think, and I'm not sure when this episode is going to air. If anybody hears this and they get a chance to make it that would be awesome. Especially, and I tell my clients, if you get the opportunity to go to a posing clinic and get in front of the judges that are going to be doing these shows, they know what they're looking for, and they can help you and they can make those, those small adjustments and so on, because they've seen this stuff for years. You've got athletes there who are very competent, who are very successful. They know what it's supposed to look like, and if you're, regardless of the amount of experience you have, being in front of these people is always going to be a help. It's always going to be a good thing. So, attending these as often as you can, especially if you got a show coming.
I am huge on do not let yourself lose because of posing. That is, I will scream.
Oh my gosh.
If I have somebody gets up on stage and they let themselves lose because of posing. It's something you can control. And there are so many good posing coaches now that you have no reason not to know how to display your physique. Because if you let somebody expose you, you could have the best physique in the world.
Yep.
And somebody else can make you look bad.
Yeah.
It's what you can show.
Yeah.
It's what you can show.
Well, and I found that early on. One of my first coaches, she was an Olympian, Camille Perriott, and I would go, and she just offered up her time, and all of us girls would go down there and we would pose. And it was like one of those things that, like, this is what we need, here in the state. So, it's grown more than I had ever anticipated. We actually brought Jen Dory in last year, which was amazing. I think we had 75 bikini competitors alone. Yeah. But again, our open men's bodybuilding was huge. We had I think 45 guys.
That's impressive for bodybuilding, because really I see some shows and I'm like, man, bodybuilding's dying. And then you'll see another show and you're like, oh, bodybuilding's still very much alive.
It's funny because some of our photos, like our content that we have, I'll look back on our photos. I'm like, there's the majority was men first year. Yeah. And so I kind of looked at that. That was the Premier Muscle. And I thought, what can we do to bring up the female count, bring up the bikini count? And that's when I brought in Sandy Williamson and Becky as our head judges.
Are they the head judges again this year?
They are, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So for the Super Show, which is on June 29th, that's the pro event, amateur event, the Pro-Am. We have Bill, who's an Olympia judge. One of the best.
Yeah. I liked him at Kentucky show. He judged me there. And
he's very good.
He was great. He stayed behind afterwards. He gave feedback to pretty much everybody at the show.
He's awesome.
Which was super nice.
He sits right next to Tyler at the Olympia, and Steve, he's kind of his right-hand man there. He's an excellent judge. So I kind of brought him in for more, because we have the classic physique guys coming in. Yeah. And then Becky for bikini. So Becky is the head judge as well. And then for the Premier Muscle, I'm just so honored Sandy's coming back. She's got a million shows that she's doing, and she is, believe it or not, 72 years old.
I did not know that.
She's amazing.
Okay. Wow.
Oh yeah. And she came last year, and I actually asked her on the spot at dinner. I'm like, will you please come back?
What?
Because she did. So she brought in our bikini numbers drove up, our figure numbers drove up, our wellness numbers went up, and so it worked, you know. And I think it's a tool, a marketing tool, or I guess something that I use as far as like, you got to bring in good judges in order to have
ladies especially want to be seen by Sandy and Becky, because Sandy and Becky are typically the ones that call the shots as far as all the way up to the Olympia level.
Yes.
They're the ones deciding what the look is for pretty much every female division.
And you hear a lot of females, they talk about the feedback they get from Becky. You know, I've had a lot of female athletes say, well, you know, Becky said this and so on. It's like, well, you can take that to the bank. That's
I have all my female athletes email Becky immediately after they get their stage pictures. I give them her emails saved in my notes, and I sent it to them. I said, email this email.
And she seems
and
to do a really
they're
good job of
equally
getting
as
back
good with
people.
the men. Don't get me wrong. Like I remember last year, actually, so 3 of our overalls went pro, and it was the coolest thing to watch. Like I was sitting at the tables, kind of we were winding down for finals, and as our overalls went backstage, both Becky and Sandy got up from the table and ran backstage and gave them immediate feedback, because your turnaround time is 3 weeks to get to North Americans. How invaluable is that?
You need to know.
It's huge,
Yeah.
right?
She
So you
did
can
that.
say, tighten up a little bit, or do you need to bring it down, you know?
Well, she did that
Few pounds.
immediately at
Yeah.
Junior USA's this past weekend. Malcolm got first in his class, and you know, she came back there
It's
as
amazing.
soon as they were done, and she told every single one of them what they needed to do.
And I bet you she remembered him.
Yeah, she
See?
did. I remember he even told me, he was like, I asked Sandy if she remembered me, and she said, yeah, from the
I don't
Indiana
know
show.
how she does it. She's just amazing. She's been judging me. So another reason why I brought her in is just being from California. She was always my judge. So I started competing in 2016, and Sandy's been my judge ever since. Pretty much only person I've ever been in front of. And I have valued her feedback so much, and she's helped me grow as an athlete. She's one of those people too that she'll send you an email, and then she'll take the person that placed first and provide their photo and your photo and give you a side by side, and so you can see where you're
Understand.
falling short and what you need to do to bring up those weak parts. You know, so she's just they're the best. I'm really honored to have them back.
So I've noticed another thing. What's your award package?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where do I start? So for the Super Show, we kept the prizes a little bit lighter. We keep Premier as like our big NPC amateur prize pack, but it's still very good. So for the Super Show, we're actually sending our overall winners to Universe.
Okay.
And then our Masters overall winners will go to Masters Nationals. And we're doing Wolfpack bags and custom belts as well, and overall cups.
Okay.
And then, of course, you know, we've got the pro prizes and things like that. But for Premier Muscle, we do it all. So I do gift cards, I do belts, bags, nationals. I do North Americans for both Masters and the Open. I do 8-inch crowns. I do sashes. I do rings for the men. It's an all-out event, you know. And by doing that, I think, you know, the athletes really see that and appreciate it, and they have a choice, right? So there's like a million shows to go to, you know? And I think that what we try to do is at least provide like a really good experience for the athletes.
Yeah. I noticed
what
that.
different can we, you know, how can we make ourselves different than the rest?
Well, we brought some athletes to your shows last year, or your show in August last year, and all of them had rave reviews. You know, you had the table set back up there for like with everything on it for after the show.
Yeah.
There was a nice space for all the athletes, plenty of room back there.
Yeah, we doubled the space this year, actually.
Really?
So for Premier Muscle, we have 22,000 square foot ballroom, huge backstage. And so the table he's talking about is, I call it the pump up station, as like a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I put out like gummies. I know like coaches probably hate this. Rice Krispie treats, honey buns, you name it.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing for the Super Show. And then I've also partnered with a donut company as well. So they're going to be putting 350 donuts backstage for the competitors. Yeah.
Oh,
but it's those things, right? Like I've gone to shows before and you get nothing, you know? And so I like to provide an experience where they're going to walk away, even if they didn't walk away with an award or a trophy. What else? You know, we do $100 goodie bags at every show, at my shows as well. So they get something. They get T-shirts and swag and shaker cups and things like that, you know.
I was at a show, and I won't say which one, but they had donuts backstage.
Yeah.
And I seen them like prejudging. And I was like, I'm going to get me one of them damn donuts when I'm done. Like after
See?
this night show, I'm going to get me one of them damn donuts. And then by the time Men's Physique and stuff had finished, all them damn donuts was
Oh, I
gone.
remember
I
that.
was like, if some son of a bitch walks through here with 2 of them, ain't gonna be a
I'll watch
do.
some people backstage eating like 5 or 6 of them.
Oh, I'm telling
like,
you.
man.
The next day I went and got me a donut the next morning,
you're-
but I was good. I did all right.
They love it though.
Yeah.
Most of them have stuff at finals, which is good. But I just think it's something extra that we can do.
Yeah.
Our goodie bags, and it's really simple. It's just like reaching out to the sponsors, like, hey, do you got some swag that we can put in the bags?
Yeah.
We talked to you guys about Clinical Labs putting in shaker cups.
Yep.
For the Super Show, every registered athlete gets a Wolfpack drawstring bag.
It's pretty sweet.
They're really nice. Take them to the
Nice, yeah.
gym and stuff like that. And then t-shirts, we did something new this year. If you register by May 31st, you get a custom shirt with your last name on the back also, which is pretty cool.
Well, the athletes talk. Like
Very much.
competitors all talk. They know
They
what
do.
shows to do. They get feedback from other people what shows to do, and it spreads. And I think that is a very important thing to get more athletes at your show because first of all, you want it is about the athletes.
It is 100%.
There's nothing going to happen. The show's not going to grow without people coming to compete in it.
Right.
And that's the key. So doing everything you can to get them to come is going to pay off dividends.
Well, I want Indiana to be known for like the amateur and pro, because we are like the heart of the Midwest, right?
Mhm.
We are the crossroads of America. So
Yeah.
I guess that's our slogan. You can drive from Ohio, you can drive from Kentucky, you
Yep.
can drive from Chicago. You can, it's a hop, skip, and a jump from Minnesota because it's really easy to get to. So we're very centralized. So my hope is as we continue to grow, that we will be that amateur show even or national, qualifier that you
Yeah.
want to fly into to compete at, to get feedback from top level judges before you go to nationals.
Oh yeah.
That's how it should,
Absolutely.
yeah.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you because
Sure.
it's a funny question.
Yeah.
I heard at a recent posing clinic I went to that they're no longer allowing any type of weapon style
Yeah.
trophy. Do you know why?
Well, one bad apple always spoils the bunch, right?
Yeah.
So those swords are just loved, right? By promoters and athletes. Everybody
ones that-
wants a sword.
The ones at my gym, from different stuff, like people see them, they're like, "What shows give out swords?"
Yeah.
and
They
stuff.
love those.
Nobody anymore.
I thought about doing it and then I got shut down because there was a guy who won a sword and he took it to an unfortunate place and threatened his girlfriend with it. Yeah.
So it wasn't at the show.
It was not at the show. It was after the show. Yes. And so swords are banned. Where they officially are banned.
Did they
from
get
the
like a
IFBB
police
NCP.
report with the sword involved?
I'm pretty sure there was
Oh,
a whole
man.
situation. With
Imagine
that.
this guy's still in full tan. He's
That's-
chasing her with a
Full
sword.
tan.
Yeah, still got
Yeah.
still in his trunks.
Still in his
Shredded.
trunks.
Yeah,
Get back here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Oh,
threatened
man.
her with the sword.
I'm
And
betting that
so-
wasn't a natural show.
not a natural show. No.
Yeah,
That's some Halo testing
That's
type
it.
stuff right there.
that's it.
Little aggro.
But here's the thing: you can go to Walmart and buy a sword of some sort. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You can't shut down Walmart for it. Like, how's that the bodybuilding thing? You know what I'm saying? It's
Gosh,
like
I know.
the guy went home and decided to do that.
There's some interesting people in the fitness industry, and like
Jesus
really are.
Christ,
Yeah.
yes,
So unfortunately, we
Ruined
can't do
it for
sword
everyone.
that's it, man.
But we do cool stuff. Like we do these custom belts. And I actually
Yeah.
just brought in for Premier Muscle, we had the cups, which they're good,
Mhm.
but I wanted to upgrade them a little bit. So they have like now some really nice statues with bases. And those, I want to win a statue.
Oh
I
yeah,
love those.
that's one of my favorite trophies I think
Me
I've ever
too.
won. Is
Yeah.
the black statue
That's it.
trophies, or they have all different ones now, but I think those are super cool.
They're nice. We're doing those for the pros.
Yeah.
And then also doing those for Premier Muscle as well. And then we do for the state, which is why it's such a prestigious title. We do rings, sashes, crowns, and then we do 2-foot statues. We're huge.
Yeah.
And they're heavy. And
That'll be
they're-
super nice.
They're
That'd be really
expensive
cool.
too.
That'll get enticing, especially get pros to come to a show because they want to win something big. They want to
They
show
do.
off their win, and then that is your biggest advertisement as well.
The big check,
Yeah, the big check,
the bag,
big trophy.
the belt.
Mhm.
We're working on the checks right now.
How many?
Yeah.
How have you gotten pros to come to your show? I know you've been getting quite a few signing up recently.
I have. And I think the challenging part for a new show, and I found this even just launching, when we first started with Premier Muscle in 2022, we didn't have any sort of content.
Yeah.
Once you have content and you have, a reel or videos or stage photos or something, it's really easy to promote. But when you don't, you've got to take a different avenue.
Yeah.
So here's what I've done strategically after every big pro show. Like we just came off of the New York Pro, the Pittsburgh Pro. There's another one before that, the Clash for the Bikini Pros. I go on NPC News Online. I find all of the pros, copy paste the name. I find them on Instagram and I send a direct invite. And it's worked pretty successfully because a lot of them didn't know about it.
Yeah, it's a newer show. So it's first time having the pro event there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pros that are very close to getting that Olympia qualification. And
they want it. Yeah. And so the ones especially that are cracking that top 8, and wanting to get that top spot, I've been, messaging them and it's been successful. We have some really good pros coming in. I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be a really great event at a beautiful venue. And that was the thing too, is when I was trying to think about how I can showcase this event without having stage photos or past pictures or anything like that. How can I showcase the venue? So that's when I came up with the idea to do the reel on the stage to really highlight the beauty
That was
of
cool.
it.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah, it's just such a beautiful venue. There's nothing like it. And to have it like in an old theater like that, people love it. The stage is huge. My banner's 52 feet wide.
Yeah.
And when you walk in, it's like every time I walk into that venue, my jaw drops.
It's
so
super
pretty.
cool. Like,
Just wait till you walk inside.
Was that your, were there other options or was that like the main one you wanted and you were just like, we got to have this?
So there were several, and a lot of us, so long story short, Dave Bowers was the promoter in Indiana and he retired. And that's how we acquired the state show. We wanted to wait a year and rebrand the pro show. He called it the Indy Pro. I wanted to rename it and just kind of rebrand the whole thing. And people were asking, are you going to have it at the convention center in downtown Indianapolis? I don't like that venue. It just feels generic. You walk in and it's just kind of like big and open and it just didn't feel like warm and fuzzy. And I like that feeling. Like I have that at the Premier Muscle. It's very like inviting.
Yeah.
And there are some folks that are bodybuilders in Carmel, which is where the Palladium is. And they are big on having that event there. And so they offered to help sponsor for me to bring it into the Palladium. And so that's how it all happened. It was like, this is a no-brainer, you know? Yeah. So it is, it's always kind of nerve-wracking year one. Like you don't know how things are going to flow. You don't know how it's going to go. Like my show in Muncie, it's like I could do it with my eyes closed now, but it's going to be an amazing event. The more I'm there and every time I walk in, I'm like, gosh, this is just going to be really cool. And I think when athletes go to an event, they want to have that experience, right? I don't know how many times I've competed on a stage like that. Maybe once in California. I think it was like a Scottish Rite Temple maybe back in 2017. It wasn't as pretty, but just being out on that stage and looking out to that audience is going to be an experience like no other.
So the show, obviously in the NPC, you'll have every category available. As far as the pro divisions, what pro divisions do you have there?
Classic, physique, and bikini.
Awesome.
Yeah. And there was a big push to bring the open in. And we thought about it.
What's the cost on that?
Oh, God.
Something
That's
crazy.
It.
That's the issue. Yeah.
It's very expensive. So right now, especially for the open, the New York Pro just did a $30,000 check for first place, I believe, for Nick Walker. That takes years of developing sponsors that are going to help back that. So a sanction fee you have to consider. And then if you want to do just the minimum prize money, it's about $33,000 to bring the open in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's in that. And then you're talking like you're at the very minimum 10 grand for first place. So what sort of open bodybuilders are going to actually come, right?
Yeah,
it has to be an incentive for them to get there.
Because there's some big prize money at some of these shows now. Dubai's doing like what, 100K or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, so the Indy Pro was there prior to you. It was they had open.
He had the open, and I think he did away with it. I actually judged that show in 2021, and I think he had the 212s.
Yeah.
And the open. But the unfortunate part was it's hard to make money when you have to bring in those big divisions like that.
So I think a lot of times the competitors don't know what actually goes on behind the scenes and how much work it is.
Oh, yeah.
I had the luxury of my first show, actually, my coach was a promoter, and the show that I was doing was his show. And I remember working at his gym and having to, even answer the phone and make sales and so on, and, get everybody's information for their entries and so on. And you see everything that he went into, like getting the banners and making the shirts.
So much work.
I mean, it's a full-time job.
It really is. It's I equate it to like planning a wedding. It's 365 days of constant planning, and you want everything to, like, you have to consider when you're having your media team there and your photographer there, how the banner is going to really look and showcase on the stage. Yeah. So you have to design all of that and think about, what you want that to look like. It's ordering the awards and making sure everything's situated and lined up. And
you've got all the media set there too. You've got two of the biggest you got one of the biggest photographers and the biggest videographer both coming to your show. You got Gilco and you got Will Whitman there.
That in itself will drive athletes to a show. So all of those things providing value, right? Like, what are we doing different that, a competitor can go to every other show, but we have the best media team there. You can get those stage reels. You can get incredible, photos on stage. They're two of the best. So we're really excited. It's the judges, it's the media, it's the whole 9 yards, the venue. It all adds up.
Lots of work, but you made it work to go.
Yeah.
This I think will continue to grow for years to come. That's the thing. So I could see an open show in the future.
Oh yeah. It's not out of the question. I think our thoughts are we call it the super show for a reason. So, I want all the divisions.
That's something rare these
Very
days.
much.
Oh man. That used to be something I would look forward to as a show, but I don't even know how many there are that still do that.
Texas,
yeah.
Texas probably does it. But yeah, the reason why we were kind of thinking we want this to be the super show for a reason. I think the next two divisions I'd like to bring in would probably be men's physique and figure.
Yeah.
Those two, they're just very popular divisions. We would get a nice count of bodies. I think, there's a demand for it, especially for figure. There was actually a figure show. I want to say there was a figure pro show in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Once upon a time.
Yeah.
And so I've had quite a few figure pros reach out, ask when we're going to be bringing it back in.
They would have normally about 15 to 20 show up too. So yeah, that's a good turnout.
I've actually been looking at the figure numbers from some of the pro shows, and it's a good turnout. Yeah. So that would be probably the next two. But stranger things have happened. There could be a sponsor that comes in that goes, hey, I want to bring the open in and I'm going to front the 33,000 for it.
Yeah.
And they'll do that. So, if that happens, I'm definitely, especially Indiana, because it's so bodybuilding centric. You know, like I said, like our men's bodybuilding division is the biggest, out of all of them. So we'll bring it in soon.
That'd be awesome.
It would be.
That's the thing. That's a lot of people travel for that too. I don't think people realize how big bodybuilding is getting. It's continuing to grow. More and more people are getting into it each year, and then social media is branching that out into so many people are learning about these bodybuilders, and classic physique has brought that even further.
Yeah,
and even people that I've known for some time and maybe have coached from a lifestyle standpoint. After a few years, now they're like, "Hey, do you think
do a competition?
I kind of want to do a show? How do you feel about?" And so, I mean, you're changing people's perspective of it at this point. Like, it's getting so mainstream. It's no longer this cult sport. Like, you can't open Instagram. I don't care what you follow without seeing some sort of fitness post or bodybuilding. So it's
we're having a little storm.
Yeah, they're rearranging some furniture upstairs. I think Austin's up there moving some stuff around.
There's about to be a flood up there too.
There may be a flood. Did you see his other building got the roof tore off of it? It rained on inside.
I remember he posted
terrible.
that. Did you see that Instagram video?
Oh my
They had the tornado in Kentucky and it tore off his roof.
Oh my God.
That was crazy. I never, it's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a tornado really in Kentucky until then. And then I remember there was 4 in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have tornadoes in Indiana?
No, well, little baby ones.
Just corn.
Yeah, just corn. That's it.
Yeah, just corn.
Just
corn tornadoes or just corn?
Just corn
tornadoes.
Tornadoes. Yes.
Tornadoes. Like Sharknado, but with corn.
That probably hurt. Can you imagine just getting pelted by corn kernels?
Oh my God.
Wouldn't be a lot of fun.
Indiana's weather is just probably Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, I mean, if you don't like it here, just give it 20 minutes.
Right, exactly. It'll change.
I wake up wearing sometimes 3 layers. By 12 o'clock, I'm wearing one.
You just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different. No,
Yes.
but trying to think, what other things have you done with your show that you think of like separating you from other shows right now?
Athlete engagement.
Athlete engagement?
Yes. I, believe it or not, half of my day is spent reposting athletes, chatting
Yes.
with them on Instagram. I send voice messages all the time because they have questions. I think that they want that engagement. They want some human interaction behind
Yes.
who the promoter is, right? And they're so blown away that I actually respond to them and leave them a message. I'm like, I'm nobody. I'm just a promoter running the show. I was actually at the gym this morning and there was a gal there and she was training. I could tell she was getting ready for a show. And I just wanted to introduce myself to her and I say, hey, are you competing soon? She goes, yeah, I'm actually doing the show in Muncie. And I go, oh, I'm the promoter for that show. And she goes, no way. She goes, I thought that might be you. I was just too intimidated to talk to you. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm like a hugger and I'm your friend, you know.
That's
I think
the way
that's,
to do it and get people into it as well.
Yes.
I don't know how many people I know that started bodybuilding because a promoter went up to them at the gym and they were like, have you ever
Why not?
thought about bodybuilding?
Oh, I do it
And
all the
then they're
time.
like, what's that? And then they find out
Yeah.
about your show and they might be there 6 weeks later.
I do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
all the time. And,
Yeah.
you know, I see women at the gym and it's like, they got a great physique and I compliment them. It's like, have you ever thought about me? It'd be great in wellness, you know? And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, and then I hand them a flyer. And then next thing you know, plant
They
the
start
seed.
researching wellness.
Speaking of wellness, Tyler, you know, now that Tyler's changing some things up and so on, are you ever going to have a men's wellness? Because Tyler had actually been talking about that.
Did you see
It's-
that?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
there was like a men's wellness in Brazil.
Please tell me yes. Otherwise, he's been practicing in heels for no reason
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I know.
in Indiana.
In Indiana,
Indiana.
only.
In Indiana.
In Indiana.
Yeah, it's gotta be the
Exclusive
corn.
Indiana
yeah,
show.
Right.
That's right.
That's the October show, by the way. Forgot to
that's
mention.
Every
right.
show is only men's wellness.
Yeah, men's
There you
wellness.
go.
Nothing else. You have the highest turnout there.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Everybody
you know,
travels across the world.
Whatever
to-
floats their boat, right?
Hey, there's
To
got to
each
be
their own.
there's got to be a field for that of just people that want to do men's wellness.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
there
sure.
was though. Did you see that there was like this guy? There was like a whole
In
category
Brazil, yeah,
Brazil.
it's Brazil, right?
Which we
Oh
talked
my
about
God.
before. We were like, did he have competition?
Right, he might have.
I've seen two now.
You've seen two.
I've seen two, and the other guy, I don't know if where he placed.
Hey, listen, Brazil's got the booties though, right? You know, you see those Brazilian girls. It's like the men probably got the booties too.
The genetics
Wellness.
for it, I guess.
Yeah, I
They
guess
got the
so.
genetics.
I don't. I mean, that's not something you're going to find on my search history.
Right,
Is men's Brazilian booties, but I'm
Brazilian.
booties.
yeah. I wonder if a BBL is a thing that men get.
I mean, I'm sure you can.
Probably.
Like, isn't it just like fat, like put
It
it
is.
somewhere else?
Yeah.
So yeah,
So not yet, Tyler, but soon.
not
Soon.
yet, but soon.
Soon. You know.
We'll bring it
Exclusive,
Fingers crossed.
exclusive to Indiana.
Exclusive. I'm gonna promote the hell out of that.
Jimmy Sterling presents men's wellness.
I'm just going to I'll randomly
Yeah.
message Jen Good at about 3 a.m. and say, hey,
Hey man, I got this
August-
great idea for
this
you.
August, me and Tyler decided we want to do men's wellness.
Yeah.
I think he'd
Well,
have it.
I want to actually say too, what I think has really helped our shows take off is social media marketing.
Yeah.
Very
Like
much. Very much.
posting, and I feel like sometimes we're like, oh, they're posting it. No, I have to because people
Mm-hmm.
are goldfish, right? You're scrolling, and you
Yep.
miss something, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, a hotel. I need to book my hotel. Well, I probably posted that like 3 or 4 times, and now they're just
Yeah.
catching on.
Yep.
But content is really important because I kind of think about it like when I'm planning these shows, it's like we're kind of like developing a story
hmm
of what these competitors can expect show day.
Yeah.
So what prizes do you have? What does a venue look like? What tanning company? What makeup artist? You know, and I'm always thinking about, I write a list every single week, and on Sundays we sit down for like 6 or 7 hours and build content for
When
the shows.
when promoters give that much info for the show, I don't think the athlete, if that's the only show you've ever done as an athlete, you don't maybe understand how spoiled that can make you, because it is so nice to have all that set up so you
Oh, yeah.
understand, all that set up, because I've done a show with a different organization and didn't know anything. And they wouldn't get back with me, and the communication was terrible, and it was very difficult to know
Well,
anything.
you can tell when it's about the money or when it's about the athlete. And
Yeah.
it's very evident whenever somebody shows up to the show, and you can tell. I'm as a coach backstage,
Oh,
I can
absolutely.
tell how
Bare bones.
what the promoter cares or not, you know, and
And
it's
if the
very
promoter
obvious.
doesn't, if it's not about the athletes and it's only about the money's not going to be there very long because you have to have the athletes. Without the athletes, there's no show.
Without the athletes, there's nothing.
There's nothing.
That's
It was a break even year one.
Yeah.
I mean, I gave everything back to the athletes because I think that is what you have to do.
well, it's an investment.
It is. Yeah. But being useful.
Yeah.
Like, how can I be useful to these competitors? You know, they're moving a mile a minute. They're training. They're hungry. They're tired, you know, and like I said, oftentimes they don't see things. So, you know, making sure they have the website information, the tanning information, all of that stuff is really important. And so social media is really better than a website in some ways, right?
Yeah.
We can showcase what the prizes look like. I can showcase photos of the judges too, and catches their eye, and then they can kind of see what the show's going to be about.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think that's a big one because I do see competitors will go to another show and they're like, they have no information. Matter of fact, there was a girl who competed in our show and she had to message me and ask me if I knew anything about the show in Michigan. I'm like, I have no clue. I don't even know who the promoters are, but you know,
I've had that a few times where I've had to look on a website and I'm like, they don't even have where their check-ins are listed. Like, and I'm sitting there trying to email the promoter like, hey man, where are your check-ins located? I need to tell my athletes.
I
And they're
just
like,
wonder
oh
how
yeah, I
they
didn't know that
get
wasn't
competitors
posted.
to show up. You know, I don't know. Last year we had 380 crossovers at Premier Muscle, which was huge. Yeah.
Which is a very good turnout for a show. Cause I mean,
Absolutely.
I've seen a lot lately with like, I've seen as low as 30 for some. And I mean, it's not fun for a competitor when you go there and you don't know how you even compare to an actual competition.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's an important thing. And when we first started these, I thought, well, when I first started in 2016, I'll never forget this. I had 33 girls in the open in a regional show.
that's unheard of now.
33.
That's
It
only,
wasn't even a national show. And I landed 9th. I was so happy.
yeah.
I was in the open at 35, 36, maybe I was 30, maybe it was 37. I can't even remember. It was 2016. But yeah, 33 girls. And so my history of competing is bigger events. And that's what I want to bring to the state. You know, I want to have great judges, good prizes, and big events.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that makes for competition, you know, and there's nothing wrong with the shows that, you know, have the smaller amount of competitors, but
Yeah.
it is nice to be on stage and really compete and find out where you fare. Like,
The amount of the experience from it's different too.
yeah.
You know, when you come out and you're in a class that's very small and some guys are in shape, some guys aren't, you know, compared to having a class that's stacked and, you know, you're in an area where it's a show that's bringing in a lot of competitive athletes. And it's like, okay, I mean, this could be the difference in hitting one pose wrong, or this could be the difference in.
I like a
all the
show
small
where
things.
even the true novice class is big.
Yeah.
Because I think that's awesome because I got some first time competitors and I'm like, I want you to go against other first time competitors. I don't want you to go up there and be the only one in your class and you're just like, get a trophy. That's not fun to pay for.
The true novice is actually one of my favorites because, you know, it's like those first time. We actually do this for our shows. If you compete in the true novice, we'll give you entry the following year to your class of your choice.
That's smart.
So whether it be, so then they can go, no, you can no longer compete in the true novice, but they can compete in novice if they didn't win the overall. But they bring in their whole family too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they've got like aunts and uncles and brothers, and you know, it's so fun. Like your first show is such an experience.
I love introducing people to bodybuilding in the right way. Like what's one of my favorite things as a coach is I get a lot of first time competitors and I always give them a great first experience and they're just like, that's what gets people into this. That's what makes them do it.
Yep.
That's what makes them tell their friends about it. That's what makes their family who came there get into it.
Yes.
You never know who's watching. You could have somebody's mom or aunt come to watch them do their true novice show and all of a sudden they're like, oh, they have 35, 45-year-old classes?
Yeah.
I'm going to do this too. Like you never know who's thinking about
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
I think we had standing room only. Do you remember that? At Premier? I mean, we sold like every single seat in the house, but the true novice will bring in, I had one guy, 30 like friends and family
Oh, yeah.
to come support them. And it's just such a cool thing. It's like, it's their first show. What an experience,
No,
right?
yeah, it's exciting because it's something most people never do.
Mine was just a bucket list. It was like,
bodybuilding. I have a few
gonna give
competing
this
for
a
the
shot.
first time this weekend, and I have a guy. He's older.
so cool.
He's over 50, and
I've
he was
seen
like,
him. He looks great.
yeah, and he was like, you know, I'm just glad I made it here.
Such a great.
But he's
feeling.
got so many different people coming from everywhere just to
That's
watch
awesome,
him.
yeah.
Grandkids.
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's
that's
awesome.
incredible.
And the
You
memories
can't
they'll
take
have
that
for them,
back either. Your very first show
Yeah.
and your experience and that
Yeah.
high. I will remember mine. Honestly, it's my best experience. Right, it's
Yeah.
your very first time stepping on stage, and then the rest is like, boy, now let's put pressure on yourself for every other
man.
show.
I remember though I did my first show in 2015, and then I did another one. I've done many since then, but I did the last one in 2023, and I still got that same excitement.
Oh,
though.
you did.
But I'd taken 4 years off.
See, that's good.
So it kind of brought it back for me, and I remember going, and I was like, man, I miss doing this. Like it was almost like an addiction again. Like
Yeah.
What was your first show?
Tricky Jackson Classic back in
Oh.
2015 when Tricky was doing NPC shows. I remember they had it. God, it was like a place where they showed horses.
I was there. I had a young man competing. in
Yes,
his
and
physique,
the stage, I'm sure you could get a splinter from it.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my God, that is so funny. It was. Did she promote with Gary also? I think she did. Maybe.
Who, Tricky?
Yeah.
Tricky's
no,
he's old 212 guy.
Oh.
Tricky Jackson.
Yeah.
It's was he related to Dexter?
I don't know.
I think they were.
Was it here in Kentucky?
Yeah.
It was here in Lexington.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It was a
Yeah.
show that used to be around back then. It was actually a pretty big show
It
for
was.
Wit, and then
Well, you remember who won that year? The overall bodybuilding. You remember who won?
was that Sean
year?
Smith?
Sean Smith.
Yeah,
won,
Sean Smith. He was big, huge. I remember him backstage. I went back to him and I was like, "Hey, man, you definitely won." He's like, "Are you sure?" He was like, "These people look pretty good." I was like, "Buddy, what?"
That's so cool.
But no, that show was. I remember they used to bring guest posers.
Yeah.
Did you have a guest poser?
Tricky would always
Are you
pose
trying to
with
get
them, I
one?
You know, I had a guest poser. Actually, Nathan Epler was our guest
Yeah.
poser. He was so good. It was a lot of fun. And I asked him to come back this year, but he's prepping right now.
Yeah, he's kind of getting close too.
He's
doing
close.
what, Chicago?
He's
or
doing Chicago, and then he's going to Texas.
Ah,
And
yeah.
Texas is actually a week after, so he'd be kind of peak week. And he's got
Yeah.
8 guys at the Premier Muscle.
That's probably something he needs to focus on.
I did ask, do you know who Brady King is?
yeah.
Okay, so Brady, same situation. I think he's going to Texas also, so it's a little difficult for them. To have guest posers is kind of like one of those things where
Cater to him and like drive him around.
there's not a whole lot of ROI, to be honest with you. It's cool, it's nice to
Yeah.
see them up there. It's cool to have the show, but I know some promoters and they'll drop like 10 grand. I'm like, I just don't know
remember-
if there's the return of investment on that.
Right.
Yeah, like I remember Tricky used to bring him, but they were like his friends.
See, they're
his
buddies.
guys that he competed at 212 with.
Right.
So that was fun for them. They got to come out there. He would take them out to dinner and drive them around, and
Yeah.
have somebody like basically let them stay somewhere. So yeah, but like it's rare you see it anymore other than in Pittsburgh.
I think that's my phone.
I heard something.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, going back to the posing clinic, I brought Jennifer Dory in
Yeah.
twice, and that to me was kind of like to build our brand. Starting that posing clinic, I really wanted people to see what we were all about, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to our posing clinic, we actually set up a table that has all of our awards. So you see the 2-foot statues, you see the
Yeah.
medals, you see the rings, the sashes and all the crowns and things like that. But we brought them in, and that to me was a good return of investment. Having people come in for the posing clinic, and now it's the coolest thing. I mean, we've got people raising their hand. They're like, we want to volunteer to come do this.
Oh yeah.
And there's so many amazing local pros in the area. Your wife, for example,
Yeah.
although you guys are going to be at a wedding.
Yeah. We'll be at a wedding. Yeah. I
She's
know.
She's got to come next year.
Yeah, we will next year.
For sure.
We'll be there for sure. That's actually June 1st. That's the posing clinic.
Yeah, June 1st is the
So,
posing clinic.
Any of my athletes who are listening to this, if you can go to that,
Do it.
you should.
It's free.
th-
I mean, it's free.
And that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
But if this airs afterward,
Yeah.
but it's
Go to the
which I
next
think
one.
we'll go to the
and
next one.
And we will actually probably have 2 next year because we'll have
That'd be good.
the 3 shows.
Oh,
So we'll
great, yeah.
put one a little later in the year before the fall event. And
Yeah.
put one maybe sometime, I think this June timeline is pretty good. Maybe May.
Yeah.
A little bit earlier, like do a spring and fall. But they're so invaluable. And then you have Gary who's leading it as the judge. Going back to that, he actually has you could ever go look it up online. It's called Perfect Posing. He's got DVDs out there.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I had an older gentleman go to Gary for posing.
Oh,
and,
did you?
Gary was very honest with him, and
Oh,
he
he's honest
decided
as
to
all
wait
gets.
an entire another year to compete. He was like, I went to Gary and he told me my legs need a lot of work. So he's
See?
like, we're not competing this year.
he's honest.
That's good, though. You
I
need
know,
that
it's
kind
like,
of feedback.
That's what I'm saying. He's
I
like-
need Gary to say stuff like that because some don't want to hear it.
No, he's
So-
very honest. I had the time that he told me my suit sucked and my hair sucked. I had, just by the way, it was a jet black bikini. I did black sparkly bikini. Judges don't like that.
Yeah.
Stay with jewel tones. And I had jet black long hair and it just wasn't the look. But, it's nice to get that critique, honest feedback
You'll never
Objective
mess up
feedback.
again
from a judge. I mean, he judges the Olympia. He knows
Yeah.
what he's talking about. So
when you hear something from somebody that prestige, you're going to listen, and it's
yeah.
going to be something that sticks in your head. If somebody tells you got a weak point and they are an Olympia judge, you're going to go train that weak point harder.
yeah.
You're going to make sure you got a different suit. it's the law.
Make the adjustments you need to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have all divisions. We cover all the divisions at the posing clinic. There's a pro for every division also, which is really nice. And it's kind of come as you are. And people, I think, sometimes are intimidated, like, wow, do I have to be in shape? Do I have to be contest ready? It's like, no, this is totally free. And if you're completely new to the sport and you just want to check it out, this is the opportunity to do that, because you can go in and you can just kind of, get a feel of things. So those are the things that I think, when I'm talking about like building our brand, it's like who we are and what we do. It's like really investing in the community of
Yeah.
bodybuilding, building a community.
Going to
That's a big
opposing
thing.
seminar is what set me up to do my first show.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very valuable.
Mhm.
I mean, if you ever have the chance to go to any posing clinic, I think you should take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Because it's ran by either judges or pros that have that experience, and they'll give you very honest feedback, critiques.
And it's fun. You meet new
Yeah.
people, you meet
That's
new
what
friends.
it's all about.
Yeah.
You'll meet some of the best people just that do bodybuilding as well. And I think that's where a lot of people fail, is they don't make connections with other people that
Yeah.
do the same thing. And if you meet other people that are doing what you're doing,
It's
it
so
doesn't
cool.
become as weird to some. It's like
Yeah.
it's almost like your new normal.
I would go to a posing clinic. My kids were little. They 18 months and 3 years old, and I couldn't wait to get out of the house. I'm like, I got to get out of here. I'm a new mom-ish, newish mom. But I would go pose with 30 other girls, and it was like, that
Yeah.
was my time. It was my
Yep.
time to be around people that loved this sport just
Yes.
as much as I did.
Yeah.
So, and it's a great segue too, especially if you're competing at the Super Show, where I think it's like 3 weeks difference. It's the 1st to the 29th. So you'd be nice and sharp,
Yeah.
for your posing. And then for the Premier Muscle also. So it's a good opportunity to kind of refine your routine and
Oh, definitely.
shake off some nerves and, those sort of things too. So yeah.
Something it helps with, especially too, with new athletes, if they come from a gym where there's not a lot of competitors or it's their first time, it gives you a chance to stand by other athletes and kind
Yeah.
of see where others are.
For sure.
And you get kind of an objective look at it, because sometimes you can wonder, like, am I where I need to be? And, am I doing
Yeah.
all right? And so on. And it gives you an objective look, because you're standing beside of other people doing the same thing you are. And you get to stand in front of people who will be honest with you.
I think next year I'm going to ask Sandy to come down, because what would be really nice is to have the judges that are on our panel at the posing clinic. They can get a first look at some of these athletes that are competing and then give them feedback before they go into the show. And it's real easy to do, having Sandy, Becky,
Well, that's kind of
Gary.
like, doing a show and then getting that feedback, but you're not doing the show. You're just going to a posing clinic, and
And
they're
she's
just
so
like,
good.
hey,
I
get
mean-
a little tighter.
Yeah. And, having coaches like yourself too. So I think, this year was one of those things we did really big. The numbers are still the same, but we brought in Jen Dory and Mark Anthony the last 2 years. This year we decided to do just some more of the local pros and just kind of scale back a little bit, because our focus is the pro show, which is an investment in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But forward, I'd like to maybe do like more of a seminar style where we can hear from coaches, where we can hear from a panel of, judges and athletes, and we can pick specific topics like reverse dieting,
Yeah.
things that are challenging for competitors,
Oh,
right?
man.
Mental health, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Huge
Things that
in our
people
industry.
Absolutely.
We need to talk
Need to
about.
think about.
Things that people need to consider that a lot of new athletes don't even
PEDs,
know to
everything,
consider.
Yeah.
anything. I mean, nothing's off limits,
Yeah.
because I think when an athlete, especially if they're newer or they're experienced, they want to sit down and listen to people that have gone to the Olympia or have coached multiple clients through peak weeks and things like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to segue into that next
I
year.
think that'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see some success in that with other promoters doing
So
that.
before we wrap things up, what were the dates again for your show so that everybody can
Mark them down.
can mark them down?
So the IFBB NPC Indy Super Show is June 29th, and the Premier Muscle Indiana State is August 3rd.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
So
first one is in Carmel, Indiana.
Carmel,
and the
Indiana.
second one in August
Palladium.
3rd is in.
August 3rd is in Muncie, Indiana at the Horizon Convention Center.
Awesome.
Beautiful venue, both of them. So yeah, we're excited. It's going to be an awesome year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And where can people find you on Instagram or social media?
Our IG page is IFBB NPC Indiana Bodybuilding.
Perfect.
And if you want any details, you can go to indysupershow.com, or you can also go to npcpremiermuscle.com.
Perfect. And also, Jamie will answer any of your questions.
Always.
Always. And she will send you voice messages.
Always. I start off with this. I do it to you too. I'm like, I'm getting old. I can't see, just wait till you hit 40. Eyesight goes. I'll be 46 this year. And so it's really hard for me to type, right? So it's just easy. Just shoot off a voice message and people like it. It's a little more personal.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll send you a voice message.
Well, thank you for coming on.
I really appreciate you guys. Yeah. Thank you.
This has been Bedson and Coffey Unfiltered. Thank you guys for listening.
Make sure to go follow us on social media.